Today, we're diving deep into a single piece of legislation that is, without a doubt, the absolute rulebook for any ship flying an Indian flag. We're talking about the Merchant Shipping Act of 1958, the very foundation for all of India's activity on the high seas.
I mean, really think about it. You see these colossal ships out on the ocean, carrying literally everything that makes our world turn. But what's stopping them from doing whatever they want? Who's making the rules out there? And what happens when things go wrong, miles from any shore?
Well, for India, the answer's kind of simple and, at the same time, incredibly complicated. It all boils down to one single, monumental law that tries to cover just about every possible thing that could happen at sea.
And get this law goes all the way back to 1958. It was a massive undertaking, designed to pull together all the scattered laws about shipping and create one solid, comprehensive framework for a newly independent India's maritime future.
And when I say comprehensive, I am not kidding. Just look at the sheer scope of this thing. One section is talking about the paperwork to register a brand new ship, and then you flip a few pages, and it's laying out the exact rules for how a seaman gets paid. It covers special ships for pilgrims, how to investigate a shipwreck, rules to prevent oil spills, and it even has sections for nuclear-powered ships. It is just huge.
Okay, so to get our heads around this monster of an act, let's just follow the life of a ship, and it all begins with its identity. What actually makes a ship an Indian ship in the first place?
Well, according to Section 21 of the Act, the law is crystal clear. It's all about ownership. For a vessel to legally be an Indian ship, it has to be owned 100% by Indian citizens or by a company that has its main place of business right there in India. No gray areas. But, just having the right owner isn't quite enough. That ship needs to be officially welcomed into the family, so to speak. So how does it get that official stamp of approval?
It happens through this very specific 5-step process. First, an official surveyor comes in, measures the ship, and certifies all its details. Then, the ship has to be permanently and clearly marked. After that, the owner makes a formal declaration, and all of this information gets put into an official ledger, called the register book. Only after all that's done is the final certificate of registry issued.
And you should think of that certificate of registry as the ship's passport. It's that crucial. Without it, the ship can't sail legally. It's the ultimate proof of its identity, its nationality, and its right to be on the high seas.
But of course, a ship is so much more than just a hunk of steel, right? It's a workplace, it's a home. And that brings us to the human element. A massive part of this act is dedicated to protecting the people who live and work on these vessels.
And the law starts by defining who's who. Section 3 draws a really clear line. You have the master, who is the person in command, basically the captain. Then you have the seaman, which covers pretty much everyone else who's employed as part of the crew. And these definitions really matter because different rules apply to each role.
And here's why that's so important. Part 7 of the Act is basically a full-blown labor law for the sea. It demands written contracts for the crew, it sets strict rules for paying wages, and it even gets into the details of proper accommodation, food, water, and medical supplies. It makes sure there's a formal process if someone is let go, and it even creates a safety net for sailors who find themselves in trouble in a foreign port.
So now we have an officially registered Indian ship, and we have a crew that's protected by law. It's finally time to set sail. And the Act's next big job is to make sure that journey is as safe as possible.
And the way it does this is really clever. It isn't just a list of things you should or shouldn't do. Instead, it's a system of proof. A ship has to prove it's safe to be at sea by getting and maintaining a whole bunch of mandatory certificates.
And you can see a few of the big ones right here. There's a certificate for the ship's construction to prove its structure is sound. Another one for its safety equipment, lifeboats, fire gear. The load line certificate is really interesting. It marks the absolute maximum depth a ship can be loaded down to in the water. And of course, a radio certificate to make sure it can always call for help.
But let's be realistic. Even with all the rules and all the certificates in the world, the sea is an unpredictable place. Accidents happen. And when they do, the Merchant Shipping Act kicks in to provide the legal playbook for the crisis.
So what does the law say should happen in the total chaos of a collision, or when a ship goes down, or there's a huge pollution incident?
Well, first, the Act defines what it's even talking about. A wreck, legally speaking, isn't just a sunken ship. The definition is way broader. It can include cargo that's floating in the sea,
or even a ship that's just been abandoned with no hope of getting it back.
And it also defines salvage. Now, this isn't just about being a good person and helping out, it's a formal legal concept. It is the reward that someone is legally entitled to if they save a life, or a ship, or its cargo. It actually creates a powerful incentive to perform a rescue.
And this whole crisis framework is incredibly thorough. The Act puts a legal duty on ship captains to help other ships in distress. It sets up a formal process for investigating what went wrong, and has specific rules for how to split the financial losses after a collision. And, this is a big one, it establishes who is liable when something catastrophic like an oil spill happens. Okay, so we've followed a ship from its legal birth to its crew, its journey, and even its potential end. Let's just pull back for a second and ask the big question. Why does this one law matter so much?
Because it's so much more than just a rule book. This act is the legal engine that allows Indian shipping to even exist on a global scale. It creates safety, it protects people, and it provides predictability. And all of that is absolutely essential for trade, for the economy, and for India's connection to the entire world.
And you don't even have to take my word for it. You can see this grand vision right there in the opening lines of the Act itself. It says its whole purpose is to foster the development and ensure the efficient maintenance of India's shipping fleet to best serve the national interests. I mean, that's a powerful statement of purpose.
And that leaves us with one final big question. This law was written in 1958. It's been the bedrock for over 60 years. But our world is a very different place now. So you have to wonder, how does a law from that era deal with the challenges of today? We're talking about self-sailing ships, massive new environmental pressures, and a global trade network that is changing by the minute. It's a fascinating question to think about.